In this video, we're going to be showing you how to recreate this Texas artwork here inside CorelDRAW. We have a brand new category on our online store called EasyCuts. And what EasyCuts will be a new series of designs that are already set for you to quickly and easily cut out of your vinyl cutter for doing imprinted garments, or we could cut this out of wall vinyl and stick it on a wall in a kid's room. I mean, there are a lot of different marketing opportunities out there for you. And if you already have the equipment to cut rhinestone templates, then this seems like a natural fit. And there's a great market out there. If you're only doing rhinestones currently, do up a couple of these out of a heat press material, and I think you'll find that open up a whole new market for you. So we're going to show you how we created this very quickly and easily. Once you have the CorelDRAW skills to be able to create whatever you want to create, you're going to see that your opportunities are really limitless. So let's go ahead and begin the process here. We'll just create a new document. And the first thing that we need to do is find us a piece of clip art for our Texas. Now, I don't happen to have any, so I just went out to Google and typed in Texas clip art here. And this image popped up, so I click on it, and then right click and choose copy image. And then we're just going to hop right back over here to CorelDRAW, and we're going to paste. Just that easy. Now we're going to go up to trace bitmap, and we're going to go to centerline trace, line drawing. Whatever the options are, we just go ahead and click on OK. And now we get a vector representation of the state of Texas. So there is our vector for Texas. Now when I double click on it, that takes us into our shape tool. If I select all those red things there, those are called nodes. And if you look at the bottom of our screen, you see it says it's curve 66 nodes. And usually what I'll do is I'll come up here to reduce nodes, and if I just click this button, you can see nothing actually happens. But if I click this little slider, then you can see, we look at the very bottom of the screen, see where it says 29 nodes, 21 nodes. Whatever you want to do, just reduce the nodes. I'll go 22 there for this example. And you can see we still have the basic representation of the state of Texas, but now instead of 66 nodes, we have only 22 nodes. Big difference there. All right, so now we can go ahead and let's go ahead and give this a Texas orangey color. So click on our orange square and hold. That'll bring up a dialog box, so we can give it a nice Texas orange. Now it currently has a black outline, so we're going to right click here and have no outline. That looks pretty good. So there's our Texas. So now what we're going to do is just grab out our text tool and type in Texas. So there's Texas. And then we're going to come up here and change our font. And I really like the College Slab font. I use that quite a bit. Very classic font there. So there's Texas, and now what we're going to do is we're going to apply an envelope to this. So we do have an envelope docker, okay, but we also have an interactive envelope tool, which is what I'll use. So just kind of hover over here, and you'll see these various tools, and if we click and hold, you'll see they kind of pop up there. But here's one right here, it says envelope. So go ahead and click on that. Now up here, you'll see there's some different options. Usually it will start out in the unconstrained mode, but we're going to use this option right here, the middle one, which is our single arc mode. When I do that and hold my control key down on this middle node, I'm just going to pull it up till it says center. See where it says center? And now that gives me a nice arch. So now what we need to do is convert this into curves. So we're just going to select it, right click on it, convert to curves. Then we're going to right click on it one more time and choose break curve apart. So now you see like the letter A, the middle is kind of falling out. So we're going to select that. We're going to right click and choose combine. Now for our letter T here, we're going to change the size of our letter T to 130%. And then we're going to do the exact same thing here with our letter S. Let's go ahead and change it to 130%. Now the next thing we're going to focus on is the spacing between these letters. I like the spacing between the T and the E just like it is, but between the E and the X is a little bit wider. So let's just zoom in tight here, pull it over, and just eyeball it. So about like so. That looks pretty good. And then for our A, same thing. We're just going to come over, eyeball it, and then finally for our letter S here, same thing. And I'm constraining, when I click on this and move it, I'm holding my shift key so it moves perfectly horizontal. See, is that we're not moving it up and down, we're just moving it from side to side, just like so. All right? So that takes care of that. Now, the next thing I want to do, if I pull down a guideline and snap it right to the tip of my T and right to the bottom of my T, you're going to see that the S looks a little weird because it matches up at the bottom but not at the top. And so usually I'll tweak this a little bit. So I'll come in here, I'll maybe resize my S just a little bit. And now it looks a little bit too wide. So then sometimes what I'll do is I'll just pinch it. It doesn't need much. And then, you know, maybe I'm happy with that, just like that. Okay? So now what we're going to do, we're just going to go ahead and get rid of our guidelines here. So we'll just select our guidelines and hit delete for both of them. All right. So now what we need to do is resize our state relative to our text. So you kind of just reposition it, get it close to what you think you want. I might actually take all of my text and group it together. So just Control G to group. So now the text is one block. And I'll select my state and hit C to center text left to right. If I hit E, it would center the text top to bottom. So for now, let's just go with that, just like that. The next thing to do is to set the overall width of the design, which for me, I'm going to do it about 12 inches. Okay. So I think that looks pretty good. All right. So now what we need to do is we need to create the offset or the contour. So for the state, we're going to come in here and we're going to go to our contour tool, our interactive contour tool. And up here, there's some options here. I'm going to type in 0.15. And then you can see it's going to contour to the inside. And so if I go ahead and hit enter, you can see it did in fact contour to the inside, and the fill color is white. And we can leave that for the time being, that'll be fine. So the next thing we want to do is apply a similar contour to our text, but this time we're going to do contour to the outside. That's the only difference we're going to make. So we're going to contour to the outside. Now we can't really see white, so let's give it a different abstract color there. So now you can kind of see how this is coming together. Now the next thing to really do is to look at where these lines and the S's and what have you, we can make any small adjustments if we move it to the right, to the left, whatever changes that you want to make to Texas and not interfere with what's happening over here. I don't like the way I would move this up. See, that looks a lot better. I think I might actually move it down a little bit too. So what I want here is I want some space right between here, and these are all little nitpicky things that I clue in on. Over here, I don't want all these lines, even though technically they're there. I don't want them to be there. So what I would do is take my master shape, which is this orange, and I'm just going to make some changes so I don't see this. So we're just going to cheat this a little bit. I'm going to double click and add a node and then move this out of the way. See that? Just that little change makes a big difference right there. And then same thing here. I'm just going to pull this in a little bit. So it's like that. And then I'm going to pull this out a little bit. There we go. I just want to make that small change so that cleans that up there without changing drastically the fact that this is the state of Texas. And then over here we're going to do a similar thing. So we're going to pull this in just a little bit so we don't have this problem here. So we're going to just over two line, there we go, make it a straight line. And it still looks good, but it doesn't interfere with what's going on. Now I might actually make a small change up here. So I'm going to just add a node right here, double click on that, and then we'll come up here and we'll just soften this up a little bit. So we'll go to curve, and then right here we'll just bring that out. See, I'll just smooth that out a little bit. So I think that will make it look really good, and it doesn't, like I said, doesn't take away from the fact that this is in fact the state of Texas. Alright, so now that we've completed that, now it's just a matter of kind of reworking the design a little bit to get it exactly the way we need it. So first thing we're going to do is let's go ahead and select the entire design and resize it. So it's 12.3. Let's bring it down to 11.5. Maybe we'll do it 11.5. So that's fine. We'll do 11.5. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come in and we're going to use our Easy Stone plugin here to add a weed box around it. And then I'm going to give that weed box my shirt color. So let's just say for this example, I'm going to put this on a nice gray sweatshirt. So this is what it would look like there. All right, let's right click on our weed box and lock it down. And now let's get to work on finishing up the design. So what we're going to do here is select our master shape for our state, or exactly the white fill actually. And if we right click anywhere on the white fill, you'll get this option. Just so you know, if we click on our master shape, which is this gold or the orange part, if we right click, notice we don't get break apart. So we have to click on the contour, break contour group apart. And what that does is those two pieces are now separated. Okay? Now the next thing we need to do is the same thing here for our Texas text. Right click on the contour, which is the red outline, break contour group apart. Now, this will be a little bit tricky to understand at first, but just follow through and you'll get it easy enough. We have this white part of the state of Texas, just one solid piece. What we need to do is we need to change that. We need to change this one solid piece here to something else. So the red contour here, we're going to cut through our white piece. So let's go ahead and go to our shaping docker. Now I have my red contour text. See that? I have that cut. And now what we're going to do is we're going to trim our white piece. So we're going to choose the trim option. Make sure that they leave original source, which would be the red. We're going to leave that, and we're going to trim our white piece. Now, if we look at the white piece, you'll see it's a lot different. It looks a lot different. See how that looks now? If we give it a color, you'll see it even better. So you see how that looks? And that's what we need. All right, so let's go ahead and give that a different color so we can see that. Let's just give that this blue color. So now we've done that part of it. So now, if we remove the red outline, if we move it entirely, you'll see that space, and you're actually going to see through to the one solid piece of state there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cut through our Texas state. So same thing, we're going to trim and we're going to delete. Just trim that orange shape. Now the Texas, you can see it's still there. And if we move the black of Texas and the red of Texas, you'll see this a little bit more clearly. So let's grab both of these. So there's that one and there's that one. And now you can see what has been cut through. Okay, so now we have basically one more step, and that is to take the black Texas and trim the red outline. Okay, so now the design more or less looks like we would expect it to. Except I must not have hit trim. So we'll just try that again here. Gotta get really close. There we go. So now you can see through. All right, so that is essentially what the finished result will be. Now, if we go to the view wireframe mode, this is how the cutter would cut right now. And that's basically exactly the way we want it to cut. But there are some lines that are doubled up. So for example, you can see if I move this away, that line still remains. So we need to kind of clean that up for our vinyl cutter, otherwise it's going to cut over the same line twice. And basically what that involves is taking our red outline and our orange Texas state and welding the two together. And now if we pull this away, now you can see what this would cut like. So that would cut in white, so let's make that white. Okay, and then for Texas orange, we'll just go ahead and, so that is what it would look like. So if we pull this away, that is what the white part would cut like, and then this would cut, and we just set it right on top. And that would be true if we're cutting heat press material to apply this design to a shirt, or if we were going to cut this out of wall vinyl and stick it on a wall, or if we're going to put it on a window, on a storefront, whatever the case might be. Very, very simple to create that artwork and have it cut very, very efficiently. The last tiny thing I would probably do is just take all of my nodes here, and I would probably just do a quick node reduction on both. So if I select all these nodes, you can see that we have 233 nodes. If I click on this button, select all nodes, and then just click on the reduce node button, you can see that 233 went down to 177. It's just good practice to always reduce your nodes as much as possible. The other thing I might do, and this is just to tweak it, see the difference here, this little space that's created on our letter T, and see how tight it is over here. I might just come in here and make that small adjustment. You wouldn't have to do this, but let's see here, I must not have grabbed. Let me grab those nodes again. There we go. We have all those nodes selected, and then I can just kind of pull this down and recreate that little bit of space. I said you wouldn't have to do this, but there we go. I just think it makes it look a little bit nicer if we take that extra step. Also, there's a little bump right here. See that little bump? That sometimes happens when you're doing offsets. So I probably just clean that up a little bit. And just go throughout the whole design and look for those little areas that could use just a little bit of tweaking. Same thing down here. This bottom part is a little bit bumpy, so I'd probably do the same thing, delete a couple of nodes and smooth that line out a little bit without making a dramatic change to the artwork itself. So I hope you enjoyed this video and get a better understanding of how to use some of these tools here in CorelDRAW to create some really nice artwork. Thanks for watching.